She has the most remarkably fast growth company of the self-funded businesses that I have had experience with.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she's doing a great job in growing a business and in a self-funded environment. But it wasn't easy along the way.
No.
No.
And the first thing is this is like completely opposite what Dan, like I have a completely opposite experience. Like my life is just, it's just very different. So, so I own a yoga studio in Tenley. Has anyone here practiced yoga before? That's what I like to always know.
Slightly.
A little. Meditation. Do we have any meditators here? Okay, cool. Because one of the things I did before I came today, and I want to make sure to say this so I don't forget, is that one of my dear friends, Daniel, teaches here. And he teaches Tuesdays and Thursdays. He told me the room is the PT Ward of American Building, right? This is it. So Tuesdays and Thursdays at noon here for Exalted Warrior, and we are actually hosting a fundraiser for them.
There's been a pretty good program for meditation and yoga.
So this is Daniel, this is my dear friend, he's amazing. And we're hosting a fundraiser for this program at the studio within the next month or so.
Yeah, it's been a very successful program, and the therapists have participated,
awesome.
And it's really a good program.
Awesome. He's great. He actually did a DVD called vetsyoga.com. He works with them, and then they just put out a DVD, so that's super cool too. So I was excited about that connection and bringing that here. And the other thing is that has anyone ever seen the Diamond Dallas? Do you know who Diamond Dallas Page is? He's like the big wrestler. Do you guys remember, like, it's WWF or something? So we don't have the technology to show it, but there's like, write it down, Diamond Dallas Yoga, pageyoga.com, and he's putting out a video called Inspired the Movie. And Diamond Dallas, who is this WWF wrestler, is now a yoga teacher. Wow. And he does, it's called Yoga for Real Dudes or something like that.
He's a lot older, right?
Yeah. And he...
Older than me?
I mean, he's definitely older than me, so I don't know. But he has this video on YouTube that I really wanted to show you guys, and I totally spaced on bringing the stuff to do it, about this experience that he had with teaching a wounded vet over 6 months and what a daily practice did. And it's like one of those movies that after you watch it, you can't help but like tear up and be like, I want to save the world through yoga. So Diamond Dallas Page Yoga, Real Men Do Yoga. Awesome. So a little bit about me, my background is, and you could probably tell, like in my heart, I'm a kindergarten teacher. I went to education school. I was a sociology and psych person before that at GW, and then I went to Philly and walked into DC public schools right after I graduated and was like, I need to go in the worst school. And they sort of laughed at me and said, okay, you know, good luck with that. And so I taught in the worst school, I guess that's how they measured it, for about 5 or 6 years in Northeast and Southeast DC. And at which point really saw a need. And while I was in the school, I say this because while I was in the school, I was definitely building my entrepreneurial spirit, because I was the cheerleading coach, the basketball coach, the writing coach. Like, I couldn't stop wearing all the hats. I was cleaning the bathrooms and just participating with the parents and planning school events. And so I love that energy of doing a little bit of everything. So running a kindergarten class is very much like running your own business, because you're managing all these little bodies and you're, you know, really scheduling your time and you have goals you need to hit. And so I feel like it's a really good fit. And so one of the things that we did when I left teaching was I started a charter school for boys in Southeast, ages like 2 to 5 the first year. And so that process, also starting a charter school from nothing, really I got to understand the intricacies of what goes on behind the scenes between money, relationships, and cleaning toilets. Again, like, you know, it always goes back to you always have to do a little bit of everything, and you can't, I feel like the groundwork is what gives you the heart to be able to understand who you're working with. So that to me has been really huge. And then I left the charter schools pretty, like, tragically. We had a shooting at the school, and the board of the school did not really I was acting principal of the school and did not take the security seriously, and so sort of out of integrity I said I can't be here anymore because the staff was not safe. and the kids were not safe. And they said maybe next year, you know. Lots of board members on K Street thinking maybe next year we'll get safe, and meanwhile that wasn't a good fit. So I left and sort of put my hands up saying I have no idea what I'm going to do with my life. And I think everyone, I'm from New England, you know, education is really important, what you do is really important, and I think that everyone was sort of like, what on earth are you going to do? And I'd already been teaching yoga because I started practicing to really help me get through teaching in Southeast and really help sort of lend a little bit of myself back to all that giving that I know everyone in this room is like really aware of. You just give and you do and you serve, and that's just who you are, but sometimes you need to really put back into your own soul. So I got involved with yoga and just sort of was doing it part-time, and when I left teaching, soon after was pregnant. And all of a sudden had this amazing experience and nowhere to experience it, because DC was all about, you know, DC, politics and looking good, and you know, DC actually is very interesting. The average age of first-time mom in DC is 34, which is much older than most places in the country. So there's also this like overeducated, very powerful thing that goes on in DC with pregnancy, which is, as a yoga teacher, sort of hilarious. And so I just started to explore that and dive into trainings and practicing and teaching. And then I had my daughter, and so I brought her, and it was just like we had this tiny little community, and then we started growing and growing, and then we needed a home. So we went to the Palisades and we opened in Palisades, and my husband's an entrepreneur. So he is in real estate, and I'm gonna hook him up. He'd love to help, I'm sure, in any way possible, especially he's done home building and construction, and now he's doing renovations and remodeling. And so he said, do you want to do this? And I was like, yes. I really sort of didn't know what it means, to be perfectly honest, to like start a business. I just knew in my heart and in my soul that this community needed a space to practice yoga together and to take parenting to really have a spiritual community and to really have the practice of yoga, which gave me so many gifts, and start to be able to share it with people in our area. So we did savings, and we just sold stuff and said, okay, let's do this, and jumped right in. And I really didn't want, a lot of places wanted a 10-year lease, and I said, no way, I don't even know what I want to do next week, let alone 10 years. So we found this great place in the Palisades that, where we opened, and were able to do, I think we did 18 months. And all along it was going along, I was going to
Where's the Palisades?
It is over by Sibley. So it was a great neighborhood local yoga studio. They didn't have any yoga over there. And it was close to the house, which is always good. So we had always thought that we would be able to stay there and just sort of grow there, although we were sort of having growing pains because we were right over a restaurant, and there wasn't really any place to expand, and our programming was expanding. So yes.
But to turn that space into a yoga business, you had to do something to that space. Could you just talk about
the build out?
Your build out, yeah.
So the great thing about living with a builder is that he got to get up really early, and take down the walls, and I mean, he did everything with his hands. You know, we just kind of made stuff up. I had a great friend who loves interior design, and I called her and said, will you look online and see what you think is, you know, yoga-y for me, because that's not my strength. I think for me, when I talk to people about starting your own business, because of the yoga, I'm really aware of what I'm great at and really aware of what I need help with. And so design, stuff that has to do with how it kind of looks, is just not my thing. I'm more about like this, like who are you and what do you need and what can we do together versus like what the space looks like. So luckily I have lots of people who can help me within that world and who are happy to do that because they love to sort of bring that. So my husband did the build out remember Snowmageddon? Yeah, okay, so he was like digging out to go to the studio because he's like, we gotta open because we've been paying rent. And so we were very determined that like we were already in the space, he needed to get his butt there and finish it.